In this lesson, we're going to be exploring patterns with the number 5. You're going to want to pause throughout the lesson so that you have an opportunity to do some thinking on your own before I reveal answers and things to you. So on this page, I want you to stop and I want you to think, looking at all of the skip counts by 5 and all of the multiplication facts for 5s, what kinds of patterns are you noticing and seeing below? Pause the assignment to do some thinking. Hopefully, some things that you noticed were 1, that every number ends in a 5 or a 0. When we are skip counting by 5s, every answer ends in a 5 or a 0 when we start at 0. So one group of 5 is 5. Two groups of 5 is 2 5s and therefore is 10. You've doubled it. So each time you're adding on another 5, which is why hopefully you notice the pattern that this is getting longer. Each time you're adding a 5 to the addition equation, which means that each time your answer becomes 5 more than the one before. When we multiply, we are simply adding a large number at one time. So we're adding 5 more instead of adding 1 more, 2 more, or 3 more. And you will add the same number every single time when you're doing multiplication as well. So lots of other patterns that you may have noticed, but those were some of the big ones. If you noticed something else, feel free to share it in a meeting. We'd all love to hear from you. Today we are working on practicing multiplications with 5. So let's read quickly through some of the directions up here, or some of the explanations, excuse me. An equation shows that two quantities or expressions are equal. So that's what an equation does. An equal sign is used to show that the two sides are equal. A lot of people think that it means is the answer, when in fact you can actually have equations on both sides of the equal sign, as you will see here, because all it's simply saying is that this is the same as this. So equals does not mean answer, it means the same. In a multiplication equation, the numbers you multiply are called factors. The answer or total is the product. If you think back to addition and subtraction, you had add-ins, and you had sums, and you had other words to name those parts. But for multiplication, you're going to want to know these parts so that you know that you're going to be multiplying your factors and that your answer will be a product, so that when someone asks you to find the product, you know you're looking for the answer to a multiplication equation. The symbols x, star, and dot all mean multiply. So this means to multiply, this means to multiply, and so does this. As you get into higher algebraic classes, you will see this the most often because it is less time consuming to draw that dot than to actually draw the x's. Not to mention when you get into variables, x becomes a value, and using the dot or a star will keep you from mixing up when you have a variable and when you have a multiplication sign. So just be aware that there are other ways to show multiplication than that little x. So today for your assignment, you're going to be writing the total. You are simply going to be using repeated addition to help you think about groups of a number. Last week, we worked a lot on having groups of a number and being able to circle those groups and count what's inside to find the total. Now, the groups are kind of already circled for us. We know we have 5 groups and that we need to count them 4 times. So we skip count by 5s, which is why practicing your skip counts in fact fluency this week is going to become so important. 5, 10, 15, 20. That way you're not having to count up by 5 on your finger each and every time. If you need to draw, write, or make a picture for yourself, use a scratch sheet of paper or a math journal to help you do that. Feel free to draw the groups. So I know that I need to have 5 groups, or 4 groups, sorry. And that each one has 5. And I can actually draw those dots to make the 5s, or to go faster, I can draw the 5s. If you've got skip counting down, this will be the fastest way. If you're not quite there yet, this is probably going to be what you need to draw in your circles so that you can actually count the dots as you add up. It will keep you from making mistakes. So you are working on multiplying fives today. This is your assignment. You will see this in a Google Doc. You can do the work on a blank sheet of paper and then create text boxes to simply insert your answers, because you will not be able to draw on your paper like I can in this app that I'm using to model the lesson. Come to a Zoom meeting if you get stuck or if you need help.